After using this Canon PIXMA G640 printer for the last 1 year, in this video I wish to share with you my experience with it, the good, the bad and the ugly. On the pros, I'll start with the image quality, of which I'll say that the image quality out of this printer is 9 out of 10. The reason why I give it a 9 out of 10 is that in the past I have had some customers complain about some of the images from other printers. But since I started using this printer, I have had no one complain about the image quality. Also, as a photographer, someone who looks at images from a professional perspective, the way this printer reproduces images, I also give it a 9 out of 10. Just as my customers are satisfied with the image quality, so am I. Point number 2 is on the case of usability. So since I started using this printer, I have never had it fail in terms of crowing or printing images with smudges or things like that. Although I have had it sleep for about 3 weeks, which is not advisable, I have never had it print images that were compromised in any way. So on that aspect, I'll give it 8 out of 10. And the reason why it uses 2 is because sometimes it fails to roll in the paper. The rolling mechanism sometimes jumps and the paper stays there for a few seconds. Then the rolling mechanism pulls in the paper. That is why it gets 8 out of 10. The other aspect, which is now a professional perspective aspect, is in terms of color reproduction, and this one is very important. I have been looking at the images I have been capturing. I have also printed downloaded images, and I can assure you that this printer does not in any way modify your colors. If it is yellow, that is what you get. If it is slightly blue, slightly black, that is what you get. I have never had to complain about this printer modifying my colors to give me an image I did not capture. So if you capture your images nicely, you will get them nicely from this printer in terms of photos. And if you make some mistakes, those mistakes will be clearly visible. So in terms of color reproduction, I will give it 9.5. The other aspect of this printer I want to comment about is wireless connection. So that is also another pro of using this printer, because I have discovered that whenever I use wireless connection with this printer, the printing speed becomes a little bit higher as compared to printing with a cable, as compared to photocopying. So that the wireless connection on this printer works every time. That is a very big advantage of this printer, because if I have a customer who has some files on the phone, all I have to do is connect this printer to their phone and print directly from their phone, instead of having to transfer the files into my computer first, or having to send those files through WhatsApp, which is time consuming. So I just connect this printer to their phone and print directly. And for that, I think this is a very big advantage of this printer. So now when we go to the cons of using this printer, I'll start by saying that this printer is very expensive to run. A few days ago, I depleted my GY ink and I had to replace it, and the cost of one bottle is the equivalent of $28. That is very expensive on a printer that runs on 6 inks. $28 per bottle is very expensive. When I combine the cost of purchasing those 8 bottles and the maintenance cartridge, it is almost the cost of purchasing a new printer. But since these inks do not deplete at the same time, I have been buying one at a time. One might fail to notice how expensive these are, because I have seen ink bottles that are very cheap on other printers, although the images from those printers is compromised, but I have seen inks that are very cheap. These ones are very expensive, and that is a major con of using this Canon PIXMA G640. Another disadvantage of using this printer is that this printer is slow, and by slow I mean painstakingly slow. It is agonizingly slow. You get tired of waiting this printer to finish printing, especially if you are printing many papers or many photos. This printer is taking its time. We know time is always limited, so if it would have been faster, it would have been better, but now this printer is slow. In conclusion, I'll say that considering the cost of running this printer, this is better if used as a photo-only printer. Although the print quality on papers is a 10 out of 10, the cost does not justify using this printer to print papers. If you are thinking of buying this printer, make sure you are thinking of printing majorly photos, and if it is papers you want to print, I don't think this printer will be value for money. But in terms of photos, I can price my photo printing the way I please and justify the cost on the image quality of this printer. So if used as a photo only printer, the cost is justifiable, but if you use it combined photo and paper printing, I do not think you will end up making a profit, because photocopying business is cheap, and I do not see you making a profit. So in my case, I would have to purchase another printer to use on my photocopy work, and I will dedicate this printer to photos only. But as far as the cost of running this printer is concerned, this printer is expensive to run. So that has been my experience using this printer for the last 1 year. And for those of you who have stayed around, I thank you all, and for those of you who are watching this video or my channel for the first time, I welcome you all to my channel. I am in Kenya, I do photography, and since I started going out a few days ago or a few months ago, I have seen my channel growing, and I would wish you also joined the caravan so we can move on together in this journey of content creation. Have a nice time, and see you in the next video.